Okay, just a moment. Everyone can see?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Shuka Uvacha Nandastatra Yadun Praptan Gyatva Krishna Purogaman Tatra Gamadvrito Gopair Anastritarter Didrikshaya. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Shukadev Goswami said, when Nanda Maharaj learned that the Yadus had arrived, led by Krishna, he immediately went to see them. The cowherds accompanied him, their various possessions loaded on their wagons. Purport. The cowherds of Braja were planning to stay at Kurukshetra for some days, so they came equipped with adequate provisions, especially milk products and other foods for the pleasure of Krishna and Balaram. Tam drishtva vrishnayo hristas tanva pranam ivotitaha parishasvajire ghadham chira darshana kataraha. Translation. Seeing Nanda, the Vrishnis were delighted and stood up like dead bodies coming back to life. Having felt much distress at not seeing him for so long, they held him in a tight embrace. Vasudeva parishvajya samprita prema vivalaha smaran kamsa kritan kleshan putra nyasam chagokule. Translation. Vasudev embraced Nanda Maharaj with great joy. Beside himself in ecstatic love, Vasudev remembered the troubles Kamsa had caused him, forcing him to leave his sons in Gokula for their safety. And our final verse for today. Krishna Ramao Parishvajya Pitarava Bhivadya Cha Nakinchan Ochatu Premna Sashru Kantau Kurudvaha. Translation and purport. O hero of the Kurus, Krishna and Balaram embraced their foster parents and bowed down to them, but their throats were so choked up with tears of love that the two lords could say nothing. Purport. After a long separation, a respectful child should first offer obeisances to his parents. Nanda and Yashoda gave their sons no opportunity for this, however, for as soon as they saw them, they embraced them. Only then could Krishna and Balaram offer their proper respects. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Good morning again, and thank you so much for the opportunity to join with you all. Such a nice group of incredible Vaishnavas, incredible souls this morning. So we'll share some reflections upon these verses, and as always, open things up to everyone's reflections and thoughts and realizations, questions. Very eager to hear from you all. So in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Brajvasis are making their way to Kurukshetra to see Krishna, Balaram, after their long separation, in which the Brajvasis actually feel that there's no life for them. They feel that in the separation of Krishna and Balaram, their life has no meaning. And of course, we understand on a deep level, our philosophy emphasizes very strongly this ecstasy in separation, vipralamba, that when we're apart from the Lord, we are experiencing a sort of union in that separation, as long as we're in remembrance. Before I speak any further, please forgive my delay in asking all of you for your blessings, for your well wishes, that we may have a meaningful, inspiring dialogue this morning that helps us all to remember Krishna, feel enlivened, and it may be pleasing to our spiritual masters and to all of the devotees here. And I'd like to seek special blessings of the senior Vaishnavas here, Arjuna Prabhu, Adi Purusha Prabhu, so many of you all here. So please bless us that we may have a meaningful conversation this morning. Hare Krishna. So in this sense, with this ecstatic union and separation, we understand that separation is not actually possible as long as remembrance is there. But for the Brajavasis who are making this pilgrimage to Kurukshetra, which it should be mentioned is the same Kurukshetra on which Bhagavad Gita is later spoken. So it's already a holy place. It's already a place of pilgrimage. And the Brajvasis are making their way on foot. So this is a tremendous pilgrimage for them. And they're coming to seek some relief from the burning separation that they are feeling. So separation, we understand from so many incredible examples, those of the Brajavasis, those of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was also always experiencing feelings of separation in his pastimes. Separation is not actually possible. The only actual separation is forgetfulness. If we're forgetful of the Supreme Lord, then we may experience, from our vantage point, actual separation. But as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, he is the source of remembrance and forgetfulness. So even that state of forgetfulness is coming from Krishna. So in this way, we can understand that Krishna is always with us. He's situated within the heart as Paramatma, and he never forgets one who tries to connect with him, tries to serve him, tries to love him. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that one who sees him in everything, sees everything in him, to that person he is never lost, nor is that person ever lost to him. He also shares in Bhagavad Gita that he is the source of remembrance and forgetfulness. So our remembrance of Krishna comes from him. We pray to Krishna that we may remember him in all circumstances, even in the most trying, difficult circumstances of our lives. And even in the happy times where it may feel that everything's okay, we may have the illusion of feeling self-sufficient, that we have everything under control, that it's by our own doing that everything is great. So we pray to remember Krishna under all circumstances. And in the case of forgetfulness, we understand, at least theoretically, that forgetfulness is also given by Krishna. So in which way can we actually be separated from Krishna? So the Brajvasis, they're making their pilgrimage to Kurukshetra with gifts and offerings in tow. It's very sweet in this purport. It's talking about how the Brajvasis are going with provisions and supplies. And of course, anyone who would take a long trip, they're going with what they need to make that trip, to cover the distance and to have their basic needs taken care of. But for the Brajvasis, these gifts and offerings for Krishna, these are their essentials. For a devotee, their survival, a pure devotee, their survival depends upon their remembrance of Krishna, their ability to serve Krishna. This is what gives them life. So in separation, the residents of Vrindavan, they're struggling for life. So they're regaining their lives in this sense by going on this pilgrimage to see their beloved lords, Krishna and Balaram. So this pastime, not this exact moment we're discussing in these verses, is Krishna and Balaram reuniting with their parents, with Vasudev, with Nanda Maharaj, with Yashoda and Devaki, with both sets of their parents, and also with Rohini in the case of Balaram. So this pastime is actually one of the origin stories of the Ratha Yatra festival. Most of you, I think, have experienced Ratha Yatra festival, the chariot festival of Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. So just as Krishna and Balaram, also joined by Subhadra, are traveling to Kurukshetra, arriving at Kurukshetra from Dwarka and meeting the residents of Vrindavan there. So in the same way, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, who are none other than Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra, are arriving on their chariots. And so they're moving from this atmosphere of awe and reverence in Dwarka, in which they're being worshipped as royalty. They're moving from this atmosphere of awe and reverence to moving to the mood of love and intimacy and intimate personal sweetness, which in Sanskrit is called madhurya. So they're moving from aishwarya, or opulence, awe and reverence, to madhurya, to intimate sweetness in the company of their most beloved associates. So the Ratha Yatra also signifies this, that when we're pulling the chariot, we are pulling Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, we're pulling them into our hearts. We're moving beyond this mood of awe and reverence into praying to establish our personal loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. And the reason, it's explained that the reason in this pastime for why Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra appear in the way that they do, with widened eyes, with smile from ear to ear, with their limbs pulled in, contracted, is because they are in such profound, ecstatic love and joy upon beholding their beloved devotees and associates. So, as we see in this verse, Krishna and Balaram, they are enlivened and they're left speechless. They are actually left speechless by the love of their most beloved associates. When they're in the presence of their parents, they can't speak. And so it's not only this is really something very incredible. It's not only that the devotees are enlivened by the Supreme Lord, but that the Supreme Lord is enlivened by the genuine love of the devotees. The Supreme Lord is completely captured, overwhelmed, overjoyed, ecstatic through the love of his devotees. So it's not that God is static in any way, that God is somehow above feeling these deep, profound emotions, but that God is the source of all of these profound emotions. Krishna is full of emotion, full of transcendental emotion, and is so responsive to the emotions of his devotees. And so Krishna speaks of this in the way in which he's enlivened and captured by the love of his devotees. He speaks of this in Bhagavad Gita. I'll share a few verses. So chapter 9, text 29. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham. Krishna says, I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. So also in Bhagavad Gita texts 10:9 and 10:10, which is part of what's known as Chatur Shloki Bhagavad Gita, the 4 verses 8 through 11 that really encapsulate the central heart of the Bhagavad Gita. Machita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantas chamam nityam tushanti charamanti cha. Thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So Krishna is speaking about the nature of his pure devotees, how they're always absorbed in speaking about him, in serving him, and remembering him. They find enlightenment from discussing him and remembering him. So this is exemplified, of course, in the ultimate way by the residents of Vrindavan. The following verse, Krishna says, Tesham sattata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So, of course, in this way, in the most immediate, direct way, Krishna is giving the understanding. And this time in a very practical sense, he's giving the understanding of how the Brajvasis can come and see him and interact with him and behold him. So they're moving into this sacred place of Kurukshetra and finding their guidance from Krishna, that Krishna is guiding them right to him. And so in these verses, it's very evident the way in which the Lord experiences transcendental emotion. The Lord becomes completely and utterly overjoyed in the presence of his devotees. And going back briefly to speaking about the Ratha Yatra festival, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, there's this procession, part of every Ratha Yatra, and certainly performed in the original Ratha Yatra festival in Jagannath Puri, where the forms of Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, it's called Pahandi. It's a procession when they're being brought to mount the cart, when they're being brought up by the priests onto the cart. And we see in this Pahandi procession that Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, they're rocking back and forth. They're swaying as they're being brought onto the cart. And what this signifies is that they're actually swooning. They're swooning from the love of their devotees. So what we see here is that the Lord is deeply affected by the love of his pure devotees. It's not a one-way exchange in any way, shape, or form. So we're seeing the power of pure devotion, that pure devotion is able to affect the Supreme Lord to such a degree, and this reciprocal love is being exchanged in so many beautiful personal ways. So for these beloved associates of Sri Krishna, and ultimately for all devotees of the Lord, Krishna is known as Pranadhana, the life and soul, the life and wealth of the devotee. So we see in the case of the Brajbasis, their lifeless condition is remedied and reconciled when they're standing before their lordships, and they're standing before their beloved Krishna and Balaram. So Vasudev and Nanda Maharaj, they embrace each other. And these are the two fathers of Krishna and Balaram. So they're embracing and experiencing ecstatic love for one another. And we can see that this is also reflective of the way in which devotees of the Lord, they are united in loving service. They're remembering the way in which, of course, they're not thinking of it as service. They're not thinking of it in this way because their relationship with Krishna and Balaram is so sweet and intimate and personal in the mood of parental affection. So we don't necessarily think, in the case of our own children, even in this world, that, oh, I did such great service in helping them. No, this is just something that, we're called to do. But Krishna and Balaram are raised by Vasudev and by Nanda Maharaj, particularly by Nanda Maharaj after being brought by Vasudev to Gokula. But we can see that the devotees of the Lord unite over what they've shared together in service and in love of Krishna. So in remembrance of those experiences also, we see many times devotees, even in our communities, will come together and they're reminiscing about experiences that they've had in their service, in their sangha together. So Krishna is also, meanwhile, just beholding all of these loving exchanges and is filled with ecstasy. So in these verses, we see that Krishna and Balaram, they leave behind any tinge of awe and reverence, ultimately, especially upon meeting with the gopis, who are their most exemplary, intimate devotees. They leave behind the awe and reverence. Although in this stage of their pastimes, in the Dwarka pastimes, their pastimes are marked by awe and reverence because they're in a kingdom and they're royalty and they're being adored in the mood of kings. And in the case of Subhadra as queen, right? So they're being adored in this way. Yet in this pastime, they drop that barrier of awe and reverence, and they don't need to uphold the stature of royalty, because to the residents of Vrindavan, they are so much more than that. They're so much more even than royalty. There's so much more. If this makes sense, they're more even than the Supreme Lord to the Brajbasis, because to the Brajbasis, they love Krishna because he's Krishna, not because he's the Lord. They love Balaram because he's Balaram, right? So in this way, this is the profound exchange of love that's taking place. And so in our own spiritual lives, awe and reverence can be very, very healthy and very important. Srila Prabhupada encourages us, especially in the earliest stages of our spiritual life, to have the awe and reverence for the Supreme, because it serves many purposes. It keeps us acting according to the proper practice. It protects us from making offenses. And it also helps us to appreciate the processes of Krishna consciousness, the depth. But as time goes on, we also see that devotees are aspiring toward developing their personal connection, their personal love for the Lord. So these happen hand in hand. We have awe and reverence, and then we also have our personal connection and relationship to Krishna. And of course, it comes through Guru. It comes through the devotees of the Lord. Not that we're trying to directly connect, but we understand that as time goes on, our ultimate goal, our ultimate aspiration, as taught by Srila Prabhupada, as taught by the great devotees of the Lord, is to develop a very loving personal connection in service to the Supreme Lord. So what we're seeing in this pastime is sort of a movement in that direction, from awe and reverence to something very deeply personal. And we're seeing that Krishna and Balaram are fully entering into that mood with their devotees in response to the love of their devotees. And these loving exchanges are kind of blossoming from each other. One exchange gives rise to another exchange. So we see the beauty of this spontaneous loving exchanges happening here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Not yet the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but a holy place, Kurukshetra. And so going back to this last verse in which Krishna and Balaram are embracing their parents and are actually speechless. So we think about this. Can the Lord be speechless? Can the Lord be speechless? The Lord is the source of all poetry, of all logic, of all grammar, of all language, and ultimately of all knowledge. So it's just incredible to consider here. How is it that the Lord himself can be speechless? So as we have kind of reflected upon this morning, he is in no way devoid of speech, devoid of understanding, devoid of logic or language or knowledge at any moment. Yet he allows himself to be overwhelmed by the love and the devotion that he's beholding from his devotees. He allows for this because not only the devotees want loving exchange, but the Lord very, very much wants and loves to have exchange with his devotees. And this is summarized in a most sublime, simple way in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, right? Krishna says, if one offers me with love and devotion, and that's the key point. If one offers Krishna with love and devotion, a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, he will accept it. So Krishna wants the love and devotion that we may be able to offer him, no matter how simply expressed, no matter how budding this love is. Krishna wants this more than anything, and he's ready to accept it. And he allows himself to be affected and touched by this love in such a way that there's always exchange happening between Krishna and his devotees. It's never under any circumstance a one-way street. And Krishna is interacting personally with the loving exchanges coming from each and every devotee. He's reciprocating in so many different unique ways according to who his devotee is and where they are in terms of their journey of love to Krishna. So I'll just share one final passage. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 6, text 84, and this is coming from the purport. So Srila Prabhupada says here, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the ultimate goal of knowledge, one who is not a pure devotee and who is not engaged in the service of the Lord cannot understand him. Lord Brahma therefore confirms this. Vedeshu durlabham. It is very difficult to understand the Supreme Lord simply through one's studies. Adurlabham atma bhaktau. However, it is very easy for the devotees to capture the Lord. The Lord is known as Ajita, unconquerable. No one can conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but the Lord consents to be conquered by his devotees. That is his nature. As stated in the Padma Purana, Ataha Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyai sevan muke hi jivhadao swayam eva spurat yadaha. Being pleased by devotional activities, the Lord reveals himself to his devotees. That is the way to understand him. Okay. Thank you all so much. We'll stop here and eager for everyone's reflections and thoughts, questions, realizations. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Dina Bandhu Prabhu. Adipurusha Prabhu has a reflection. Let's see.
Hare Krishna, so nice to see you. Welcome, welcome. Sweet class, very sweet. You must have said 16 times, loving exchanges, loving exchanges, loving exchanges. And we hear this different ways that the those who love Krishna were expressing their love. There were embraces, right? Probably sweet words, maybe some singing for Krishna. But one thing that resonates in my heart is they brought foodstuffs. When I think of Prabhupada, I think Prabhupada is feeding us. He's feeding us, you know. The mother shows her affection for the child by feeding the child. It's such a basic, what is it? Anamaya, the first form of appreciation of God is anamaya, seeing God as food. You see a child, they take everything, they put it in the mouth, you know. They'll eat anything, you know. Gaur Shakti used to say, if you cooked your socks in ghee, it would taste good, you know. But the idea that, but it's the love. It's a one way of expressing love. And this is such a dark world. People are envious of each other, competing, and they're hungry, actually hungry for love. They're hungry for love. And we notice that, we're involved in distributing Krishna's prasadam, which is Krishna's love coming to us. And I know in my own cooking, if I'm cooking something for lunch, I go and shop and I cook what I like and then we offer it to Krishna and then we take it, But if I start thinking this is an offering to Prabhupada, this is for an offering, cooking an offering. I hope I can do it with affection. And the idea is that we can drift away from that simple idea that the consciousness of the cook is so important. Cooking, is it an offering or is it just something I'm doing for myself and then I just kind of offer it before I eat it, So there's it's a discipline, a mental discipline to think properly and to do this in consciousness. Krishna says, if you offer with love, I will accept it. Prasadam. Prabhupada said, you all came because of prasadam, and he didn't fool around. He cooked many, many wonderful kinds of things offered to Krishna. Anyway, glories to Srila Prabhupada, glories to Krishna's prasadam, and we delight in seeing people. It says the spiritual master is very satisfied to see the devotees taking prasadam. He's trying to give us Krishna in that form, and he's very happy to see us accepting it. We hope we can please Krishna. Let's just take this prasadam to a full satisfaction and do so glorify the Lord Shri Radha Muradhar.
Thank you so much, Adipurusha Prabhu, Hare Krishna. Yeah, I love what you shared. Prabhupada is feeding us. Prabhupada is feeding us so many different ways, right? And also, like you said, introducing us to prasadam, and really inspired Adipurusha Prabhu by your service with prasadam and also the faith that you have in prasadam. And just wanted to mention, just this past Thursday night kirtan, I brought someone along who had never been to a function in a Hare Krishna temple before, and he had prasadam for the first time, and just watching his face, seeing his face when he was tasting the prasadam, it was like, and it really helped me to remember that, Hare Krishna, we can never ever take this for granted. Prasadam, he was just like amazed, like so enthusiastic. And then a devotee said, "Oh, would you like to have a little more?" And he said, "Yes." He like jumped up. He was waiting to hear that. So it was just so beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much, Adipurusha Prabhu, for your wonderful reflections.
Thank you. Jamuna Jai had her hand up.
And yes, and Gail also has a hand.
Yeah.
Okay, looking forward to everyone.
Oh, sorry. My students are coming, so I can't chime in. Just wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Jamuna Jaya.
Let's hear from Gail. Gail, is that another prasadam confession or a question?
Well, I have prasadam confessions, but it's not in a positive way. I always feel kind of left out when I hear people extolling the glories of prasadam, because, I mean, for me, you know, everything is on a material level. So I don't have prasadam realization. But yeah, that's my big confession right there. But I do have a question. Um, when the question is, Dina Bandhu Prabhu, can you help me increase my awe and reverence for Krishna? Because when I hear about his glories or his inconceivable nature, like today, you mentioned the fact that although he is the source of all creative talents, but he can be speechless, right? And so when I hear about his inconceivability, I feel like, yeah, but he can do it because he has inconceivable potency. And he can do it because he has yoga maya. So it's like no big deal for him, you know? And so because I know it's no big deal for him because of his inconceivable potencies and because of yoga maya, you know, I kind of don't that inconceivability, like, wow, how can Krishna do that? You know, I'm just not like feeling it as much as I think I need to. So I wonder if you can help me with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gail. That's a great question, and I appreciate just the honesty of your reflection and your introspection. So yeah, well, in a way, you almost said it, that this is no big deal for Krishna. But actually, in a way, the fact that it is no big deal for Krishna is so inspiring of our worshipful mood toward him. So, for example, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill.
Wow, Dina Bandhu, that is incredible. That is exactly what came to me this very instant. And then you just read my mind like a yogic mystic or something.
Hare Krishna.
Wow,
Krishna
that was
arranges
amazing.
these
That was
moments of,
amazing. You have to be in my heart and mind to understand how amazing
oh,
that
Hare
was. Yeah.
Krishna. Well, you're in mine too. But yes, it's really, but Krishna, right, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, right? And with the little finger of his left hand. And he's
Yeah.
just a boy in this moment in his pastime. He's so, in terms of his stage of his pastime, he's such a young, youthful pastime for him. And Krishna lifts Govardhan Hill with the little pinky finger of his left hand. And yes, part of what makes that pastime so incredible, and so you can even say awe-inspiring, is that it's no big deal for him. He does it like it's nothing. Prabhupada says like a child plays with a mushroom, like a child plucks a mushroom from the ground, right? So there's something about the fact, and I think you're already connected to this, Gail, that it's no big deal for Krishna. But the fact that it's no big deal for him can actually make it a bigger deal for us. It's something. Krishna does all of these things so effortlessly, so naturally, just as a function of his own existence, his own opulence. Um, and also reading in Bhagavad Gita, the opulence of the absolute. So many ways in which Krishna is the source of all, so many ways in which Krishna can be perceived in so many different facets of life. This is also so awe-inspiring and at the same time, like so approachable, so down to earth. Krishna is the taste of water, so we can remember him when we drink water. So many ways in which Krishna shows us, yes, I'm present. I'm present in so many different ways. And as you said, Gail, it's no big deal for me. But because we are aspiring to be devotees of the Lord, we find these opulences just, absolutely incredible and awe-inspiring. So I think, what you said about it being no big deal for Krishna, to me, I think we can find that as a sort of a source of inspiration that can be helpful to us in regarding the wonder and beauty and opulence of the Supreme Lord. So I hope that this is helpful in some way, and I really appreciate you
Well,
bringing this out.
I think, it was helpful because as you were speaking, what came to my mind was, how jaw-dropping my experience is when I see ordinary jivas do incredible feats, right? And so, of course, we know that the strength of man comes from Krishna, but when I'm like, if my jaw can drop when we see, like these incredible acrobatic acts, or Mr. America lifting, crazy weights, you know, that's also, I mean, we have inconceivable experiences like that, or experiences of inconceivability like that. So, I mean, if I can have that experience with ordinary jivas, right? I'm thinking that maybe I can marvel when it comes to Krishna in that same way. Something like that. Anyway, that's how I was thinking while you were talking.
No, that makes sense, Gail. Like ascribing whatever wonder you perceive in your life, ascribing that to Krishna, and allowing that to fill you with that
Yeah,
feeling,
that awe. Yeah.
that awe. Thank you. And then
Mhm.
another thought I had just momentarily is that um, where we see Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita expressing so much awe and reverence is chapter 11, when Krishna exhibits his universal form, almost to such a degree that it's distancing, that Arjuna is like, he's not able to really interact with Krishna in the same way. So it's incredible when we think that this little cowherd boy, right, is not in any way sort of coming from that universal form, but rather that the universal form is an expansion coming from this
Mhm.
sweet personality of
Mhm.
Godhead, of Krishna. So in that way, he's containing everything that may be awe-inspiring or amazing to us. But approaching him in
Mhm.
this personal way and understanding him in this personal way is a higher understanding, actually. It's really incredible.
Yeah. 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 Okay, I gotta just keep thinking of those acrobats and Mr. America and all those crazy circus acts. You know. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gail. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Let's hear from Bhima Prabhu. He was away for a few days, and we're missing you, Bhima Prabhu. Please speak. Okay, the head is on.
Haribo. I did miss you all. I did. I did. No, every day was just a normal, mundane day, like the old days, you know? It's sometimes the devotee association becomes an emergency, you know? Um, I think that this understanding that there is anything at all in the universe, that from the alternative, which is nothing at all, which doesn't exist, or that which doesn't exist, to that which is. And I don't mean to be Zen philosophical here, but what I'm saying is that the wonder of Krishna is in every moment. Um, if we can just wrap our head around the fact that variety itself and all the drama of getting through our lives is all designed to bring us back around again to Krishna. That is, of course, first and foremost evident in the temporary nature of the world. That the first knowledge is to understand that the world that we're in is like a drop on a lotus leaf. And those things which we hold on to will drop away. And this is one of the lessons. And then, of course, There's all sorts of little lessons, including laughter and playfulness, and it's expressed through Krishna's devotees, and of course, Krishna's pastimes with us each as we go through our day. If we can always remember that Krishna's at work, here's a test, here's another test, here's a challenge. I want you, I want you, I want you stronger. I want you more clear-headed. Oh, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Bhima Kaviraj. Thank you. Okay, darshan time. Thank you, Dina Bandhu Prabhu. Thank you. Darshan time. Turn on your cameras, please, if you can.
Lotus feet of us, good master. The only way.
Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow, dear devotees. Dina Bandhu Prabhu, it's a Monday. Do you have a few minutes for the Afterglow?
Yes, Prabhu. Wouldn't miss it. Afterglow is very special. So thank you.
Yeah. Jamuna Jaya put something wonderful in the chat. Sorry I had to check in my class, but just wanted to reflect that the pastime makes me appreciate the fact that the war of the Bhagavad Gita takes place here, and why Dhritarashtra is so afraid of how the place might influence things, because so much piety in the literal earth there. Thank you, gotta go. So what can we learn from that? We should turn our apartment, our farm, wherever we stay, we should turn it into a tirtha by doing devotional service, and then the place will influence back. It will back us up when we need it, right? When we feel weak and lethargic, the place will help us, right? Bhima Prabhu, did you offer your land to Krishna? Are you ready? Are you being influenced by your land?
This is my land. It's not his land. If he threatens me, I'll give him just enough to get him to move along.
Yeah. Jai. Okay.
Bhima Prabhu, I'm sorry, with the darshan, I wasn't able to just thank you. Thank you very much for your comments. And what you share is always very personally stated, and we can hear, how much you've like personally assimilated and really contemplated what you're sharing. So thank you so much, Prabhu.
You're thanking me for pain and suffering. That's because that's the only thing I know. I gotta feel it. I gotta feel it. Somebody can tell me 1,000 times, but if I don't feel it, I'm that jackass who feels it, and then of course, hopefully, I can turn it around into something like, "Don't go there. I did it. It's not for us," type
Mm.
of thing. So it's a wonderful thing to actually, uh, uh, circle the circle the wagons around our experience and to be able to hunker down and say, wow, that's Krishna. Wow, that's Krishna. A lot of people have positive experiences that way. I myself as well. All grace brought my way by Radhanath Maharaj. And of
Mhm.
course, Prabhupada through his books. And of course, all the devotees like yourself who, us less, uh, us
Refined.
less, yeah, refined. Yes, proud to be a dacoit. Um, yeah, us less refined personalities um, look at uh, the equanimity and the sobriety, um, the dispassion of other devotees as as a light, like a beacon to aim for. So thank you very much for all of the rest of the devotees on the call. Um, just don't just do as I say. Just do as they say, not as I do.
This
Hare
reminded me.
Krishna.
This reminded me. Bhima Prabhu's tirade, devotional tirade, reminded me of this verse in the Bhagavatam, Tate Anukampam Susamikshimano, where we're all going through pain here and there, but yet we're marveled by what Krishna has in store for us. We all have this sense of wonder in regards to what's around us. We're going through pain, yet how wonderful is Krishna. That's Tate Anukampam Susamikshimano verse.
It's called a tragic comedy. We're all going to be hit with tragedy. There's no one here gets out alive. But in the end, you hear Krishna laughing, and he's like, "Well, what was it like?" And you're like, "Oh man, don't send me back there again. No matter what I say, just somehow keep me from coming back here." He
Yeah.
makes sure you're not going to look back. That when you put your shoulder to the plow, you do not look back.
I am gonna look back. I'm gonna miss you, for example. Dina
No, you're
Bandhu.
going before me, Prabhu. So I'm going to miss you. If I have any say in it, I'm taking you down first.
Yeah.
Going back to the point of the class, that when when we witness loving exchanges of Krishna's devotees, we feel joyful, feeling that, hearing Bhima Prabhu and Ananda Vihari Prabhu talking. It's very, very sweet. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Dina Prabhu, welcome back. We missed you. Thank you. Okay, we'll take one more burning question, burning sincere question, please. Or a burning and sincere reflection, something that stood out to you in class. You can reflect that back. Even if your mind goes blank. All right. Sundarananda Prabhu is bowing down. Okay. All right. So Dina Bandhu Prabhu, please summarize, finish it off. Your final instructions for today, please.
Krishna, thank you all so much. Praying to become more like each and every one of you, and yeah, just I guess we can try today to reflect upon the ways in which we can sincerely offer love, affection, even yearning, offer some yearning to Krishna today. Offer some yearning, uh, even if we may not feel that we have love to give, but we can offer that sense of yearning, that desire to offer some genuine feeling to Krishna and to his devotees, to show up with that in some way or another. whether it's outwardly in our interactions, like the beautiful interactions of the Bhima Prabhu and Ananda Bihari Prabhu, or also just in our hearts as you go through your day today. Try to come in touch with some feeling that you can offer to Krishna, because in these verses we see how Krishna himself is just so deeply affected by our sincere feeling, any form that it may take.
Jai.
Can we pray to Krishna to make us yearn?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. If we don't want it, we want to want it. And if we don't want to want it, we want to want to want it. So
That's a
there's
good one.
space for everybody.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Jai. Okay, let's see. Hemangi, please unmute yourself and say
Oh,
Hare Krishna.
Hemangi, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for such a wonderful class as always, Prabhu. Really love it.
Thank you
Hare
so much.
Krishna, dear
Hemangi.
devotees.
Jai.
So happy to see you. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, King of Books, Ki Jai. Dina Bandhu Prabhu, Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Everybody on this call, Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful